Watch this!
Okay, it's time to work the shoulders. Now, we've already worked the shoulders a little bit during the push-ups, the pec fly, and the chest press. But we've only worked with really one side of the shoulders, the anterior deltoid in the front. Any kind of pushing motion does work the front of the shoulders. They also tend to be a muscle that are overtrained. That's why I don't do like front raises with dumbbells or upright rows or anything that's additional stress on the shoulders. Most people have an imbalance. They have a lot of muscle in the front of the shoulders, kind of makes them go like this, especially if they're tight, and nothing in the back, so they're walking around a little bit muscle bound. And what we're trying to do is even out the body, so it helps with posture and just helps with injury prevention, things like that. So we're not doing anything for the front of the shoulders. What we're trying to do now is work the sides of the shoulders, the medial deltoideus, to be more specific. So you have the anterior, the medial, and the posterior shoulders. Now the posterior we're going to work on back day. That's when you're doing a pulling motion, because those are going to be utilized anyway when you're doing any kind of pulling type exercise. But to work the medial deltoids, the side of the shoulders, you can either use a dumbbell where you go out to the side like this, or a machine that actually places the resistance either on the wrist or the elbow that you push against. But it's basically abducting the arms. Remember, the abduction is to take away. You're abducting the arms away from the midline of the body. And we're going to put resistance, in this case, in our hands to make it a little bit tougher. Now, one thing we don't want to do is pour the weight. A lot of times you'll hear people say you want to like pour the dumbbell, like you're actually turning the dumbbell like a pitcher, like you're pouring it down as you go up to the side. And what that does is it impinges the shoulder. Oh, I just felt it. Shouldn't have shown you what not to do. Basically, when your thumbs are down like this, it impinges the shoulder joint. You can try this yourself. Put your hands in front of the body and move slowly, but put your fingers down, your thumbs down like this, pinkies up, and slowly bring them up. And you're going to feel that impingement. You're going to feel the motion just kind of stop. And that's basically the cartilage in the joint capsule just hitting against each other, and it can't move. And to show you how you can unimpinge or release the shoulders is to turn the palms up. Go out just a little bit and look at how much easier it is. You can raise your hands up. So that's one reason you don't want to do like an upright row like this, because that puts you in that impinged position. It's like the worst exercise you can do, full range of motion. If you do have a problem with shoulder impingement already, you may want to do these with thumbs up out to the side, because that's a little bit more unimpinged, a little bit easier on the shoulder. But definitely don't pour them. Don't bring your thumbs down when you do this. Even if it puts a little more stress on the muscle you're trying to work, it's going to damage something in the process. Okay, also, when you're doing a lateral raise to the side with a dumbbell or a machine, the shoulders really only contract to about this range of motion, a little bit less than parallel with the ground. So don't go up any higher than this, especially if you have like neck issues, if you have a lot of tightness in the trapezius muscles. Basically, the higher you bring it than this, it's going to start elevating the scapula, and it's going to put a lot of stress on that muscle group. And if you want to work the trapezius muscles more directly, you can do a shoulder shrug or something that elevates it in the range that it should be worked, in the proper biomechanics. But anything past this is really going to put a lot of stress up there. So you can even start off, if you have shoulder problems, just a small range of motion, even like this. That's really only work in the medial deltoid muscle. Another thing you want to keep in mind when you're doing shoulders, because they're typically not that strong. You can't use a lot of weight when you're doing shoulders. Small little increments in the weight make a huge difference. Now this is a 10-pound dumbbell. It says 10 pounds right on it. It's a fixed dumbbell. It probably is 10 pounds. There's other dumbbells that are assembled. Okay, this is a 10-pound dumbbell, but it's assembled. There's little Allen wrenches here. You can tell somebody put this thing together, and it's the same handle that's used on a lot of different types of dumbbells, from 10 pounds up to 100 pounds, and which we have here. But this 10-pound dumbbell is probably about 12 pounds, because the bar weighs a little bit of, maybe a pound or two. So keep that in mind. If the difference between a 12-pound dumbbell and a 10-pound dumbbell is 2 pounds, and it's 20% of the weight, so it makes a big difference. So if you're using dumbbells in a facility, make sure you're using the same type of dumbbells all the time. Okay, so on to the exercise. You're going to breathe out, raise it up at a 2 or 3 second count, like this, just to about that 70-degree range of motion, and then slowly down at a 4 or 5 second count. Okay, breathe out, slowly down. Okay, knees kind of soft too. You always want to kind of have your legs bent a little bit. If your legs are locked out, your back arches. Also, you want to keep them in straight line with the body, keep them in the same plane. A lot of people, when they're doing dumbbell work out to the sides, they'll bring the dumbbells to the front, like this. And what happens, you're actually bringing your dumbbells into a different plane, so that you're contracting in a plane opposite of what the the dumbbells plane is, if that makes any sense. Basically, just bring them down by the sides like this, knees slightly bent, slowly down. Okay, another concept with dumbbell work. When you're using a dumbbell, there's no weight down here in the bottom position. The weight's pushing straight down, but the muscles are contracting this way, so it's perpendicular to the resistance. So there's really no weight. You could stand here all day. Now, as you bring the weight up, the muscles biomechanically get weaker. It's just a weaker position up there, but the weight's full force. It's going straight down, 90 degrees out to the side to get the maximal amount of weight. So the problem is you have no weight where you're strongest, you have all the weight where you're weakest. Okay, so it's completely backwards. It's the same thing with those little elastic bungee cords you put under your foot and you go out to the side. It's all slack down here in the bottom where you need the resistance, and it's very tight here at the top when you're weakest. So what you want to do is also use a machine. If you have access to a facility, access to any kind of lateral raise machine, use that sometimes too. This is real life. Doing a dumbbell raise is real life. You got to do that. You got to do that as well. But you want to use machines to kind of equal out the strength curve, better biomechanics. An example of machine is something like this right here. Actually, hey Virginia, watch this. Can you come here for a second? Okay, just as an example, this is a lateral raise machine. Go ahead and take a seat back there. Didn't know I was going to do this to you. That's what you get for working out today, right? This is working the medial deltoids as well, but it's doing it. I'm going to raise your seat a little bit. Hop off. Okay. Remember, you always want to line up. This is on the fly, off the cuff here, right? As always, but you always want to line up the axis of rotation of the machine with the axis of the joint. Now, the best way to line yourself up. This is the axis of rotation of the machine right there. You can see the little here. Move your hand for just a second. Out to the side, you can see the axis right here. Hopefully you can focus in on that. That's my shoulder. So you can't line it up when you're sitting down because as you do this motion, your scapulae, they rise up a little bit. So the best way to line yourself up is to basically take your arms out of the machine, go out like this without the hands in. And you want to make sure that the axis of rotation of the joint is through the machine. You have somebody else line it up, hopefully a trainer at your facility or a good friend or a mirror, something like that. But okay, so that looks lined up. It's good enough for our purposes. Now you're going to hold on here. Mm-hmm. I don't like to hold on to the handles. You're going to have a lot of machines like this. Not necessarily the best machine. We have 5 different types of lateral raises in here. Mm-hmm. But because what you're going to do is push on those handles and get a lot of leverage. You don't want to do that. Okay, so I line myself up where the hands should be if you're holding on, and then take them off. Oh, okay. So like this, hands off those completely, and you're going to bring it out to the side. The seat's probably just a tad low, but I'll help you out a little bit. Okay. Right back down. Now what this is doing, is that too heavy? Is that okay? It's all right. What this is doing is providing resistance through the full range of motion. Even down here where the muscles are strong, you're getting resistance. And it does get it's a little too much. Uh-oh. Right. Rip? No. Be careful. She's warmed up. She was over there doing something else. Mm-hmm. So slowly down like this. But you can feel how there's resistance the whole way, right? Breathe out. Slowly back down. Her speed of movement is perfect though. Okay, that's good. So there's other machines. There's one right behind it actually where we have resistance on the elbow itself. You can push with the hand or the elbow. There's other machines in here where the resistance is only on the elbow. If you're pushing with only with the wrists, which is better than going like this, but you're actually using the external rotators. You've heard of rotator cuff muscles, the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, subscapularis, and teres minor. Oh, of course. Okay, good. The external rotators are being contracted while you're doing this because you're pushing against this pad with the back of the hand. So it's like that kind of back slap karate chop type move, and you don't want to have those necessarily contracted while you're doing deltoid work.
So I'm not using this. I'm using this.
Yeah, but still, regardless if it's anything from the elbow down, anything that provides that motion, you're actually contracting the rotator cuff while you do this. It's good. Probably okay if you do rotator cuff work and build that up, but if you have a machine that has the resistance on the elbow itself, this little bump right there, the lateral epicondyle, if you can place a pad on the end of the upper arm bone, use that one instead for most of the time. It's more comfortable, it's also safer. Okay? The key is doing sometimes a machine where you have the resistance through the full range of motion, through the full strength curve, and sometimes doing real life activities like dumbbells or using a dumbbell like myself to push down on you. So if you actually don't have any equipment, dumbbells or machines, use a human dumbbell. Use a spouse or a loved one, and actually sit down on the bench for a second. Straddle the bench, face this way. Might as well while we're here, right? Down to the side. Hands down to the side. So I can be the dumbbell. You go ahead and bring it out to the side and say motion, slowly back down. So I can provide the resistance a little more at the bottom, a little less at the top. And basically a little tug of war. And perhaps the 20th in the series of my Healthy Introduction CDs or DVDs will have a full body workout with no equipment whatsoever. So
wow.
A little fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for shoulders, and we're on to shoulders number 2, overhead press.